Go. So good afternoon, Andy. It is the 12th of August and it's just coming up 1:15. We're currently in Devices Training Centre. I'm Dave Geddes. I'm going to be your assessor as we go through the upcoming area of work with you. Now, can I just ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name's Andrew Edwards. I'm an assistant fireground technician.
Fantastic. And what we're going to be looking at assessing you against, Andy, is the Level 2 award in moving people safely. So we'll explain a bit more what that looks like in a moment there. We've got the camera on. I spoke to you before I turned the camera on, and just to confirm that you're happy being recorded. And this is more about evidential base for me as part of an award that I'm going through at the moment there. Are you happy and comfortable to be recorded?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got no problem with that.
Fantastic, thank you. Before we start, I'll go through a few other key areas as well there. So the assessment as we conduct it is going to be held in compliance with Code of Ethics, the NFCC's Code of Ethics, and you'll see lots of posters in and around everywhere. We've covered those all off, and I think we've got some little couple boxes downstairs that cover it off as well. Linked onto that is we have an appeals procedure here, so it's EPR 40, which is Assessment Appeals Procedure, and I'll give you a copy of that now as well. In a nutshell, what that says is if, as we go through the process, if my assessment decision or how I've assessed you or anything that goes into this process, you're not happy and comfortable with it, then please come and have a speak to me first, and then we can see if we can address that problem or change it, or I can provide you a rationale as to a decision that I've made. Or if there's another problem in there and you don't feel you can come and speak to me, then obviously Wayne's in and around as my line manager. You can go and speak to him, and then we'll look at the formalised processes this week on that as well.
Right.
Okay. But ultimately, when it comes back to it, the appeals procedure, the behaviour and conduct that I'll explain or I'll put in place for yourself is all in compliance with our services values, our services core codes of conduct, and everything you'd reasonably expect from me. Okay.
Right.
Linked on to that, we've got health and safety requirements. So the assessment or the award area that we're going to be assessing you against has got some practical elements into it. So there'll be some theory, but there'll be some practical sides of it as well there. And when we go and conduct those, we'll make sure that we've risk assessed it, and we make sure that it's not going to place you or any others at harm whilst you do it. From the actual tasks that are in there, there isn't, but we'll make sure that it's not going to do that, and you're fit and you're safe while you're conducting the activities that are going on. Also, in relation to the video recording that we've got in front of us and any documentation or paperwork that I produce during this assessment process, it will be managed in line with our services procedures for paperwork and documentation, which is linked to the GDPR regulations as well, so it'll be contained there. Anything that I store will be stored securely, and it won't be shared with anybody unless there's a legitimate reason to share it with them. And then once I've finished with it, it'll be deleted. So for an example there, this video recording that we're taking now, what I will do is I'll upload that onto a site so I can share it with the assessors for me as doing this qualification. Once they've finished with it, then it'll be deleted and I'll remove it from the YouTube site, but it's there. But it's held within YouTube within a secure area anyway that only people have to request access to anyway. Regarding the documentation, once I've submitted it, any hard copies will be destroyed unless I need to, and then once I've finished the qualification, electronic copies will be destroyed as well. Okay?
Yep.
Happy with that? If you want to see anything that relates to you throughout the entire process, please ask. More than happy to share it with you. Okay. Before we move on, have you got any questions at all about why we're here and what we're going to move on to?
Apart from, you've been assessed and no, to be honest with you, I haven't got any questions.
No.
I'm just happy to go ahead with it. So.
What I will say, Andy, is as we go through the entire thing, as we go through this, today's the assessment planning meeting, so we're going to plan out how we're going to assess you against those areas. But as we go through, if there's anything in there, any questions that come to you, if you sort of go, actually, how does this work? Or I wasn't too sure on this, or actually I've got this requirement I forgot to mention, please tell me. It's not a problem, because we'll go back and then we'll make sure the adjustments are made and put in place there. The aim of all of this is for you to demonstrate to me the great work you do, the way you operate and perform in and around the training centre, and get to a sort of positive and successful outcome. Right. Okay. Brilliant. So I suppose the main part of it is why are we here today? So what it is I'm looking at creating an assessment plan for you, and the idea of the assessment plan is I'll set out what criteria we want to assess you against for a specific task, and the task that I was looking at for you, linked to your job role, is one in relation to manual handling. And that kind of links back a little bit to the time you had off recently with your back injury, but also a lot of your role, as it is within the workplace, requires that. It requires you to lift and demonstrate what you've been doing safely. There is an award criteria, which I'll go through in a minute there, but I suppose before we get on to that, if we're looking at assessing you against a manual handling skill set, what are you looking to get out of this assessment process?
Just to assess whether I've been doing my manual handling correctly and there's no errors or problems which I should be addressing, and if there is, hopefully they will be addressed today, which will be better for me and everybody else in the long run.
Okay, so you've mentioned as part of your role previously, but what kind of experience have you got in relation to manual handling?
Manual handling, with regards to work, I've got a lot of handling around on the drill yard with casualties, dummies, pallets, standard test, removing equipment off the appliance, putting it back on. It's a lot of manual handling.
Okay, so you're looking to do that, or just to confirm you're doing it correctly and safely? Yes. And the longer term aim for that is around what?
For the benefit of my health and,
no,
and no injuries involved. So
okay, no problems at all then. So that's clearly defined for me. That's not a problem at all then. With regards to the assessment process, we've got theory. I said we've got practical and theoretical aspects of it. Is there anything within there that is going to potentially cause you concern, or do you feel that you need some additional support with?
I'm happier doing practical assessments with regards to writing in computers. I tend to sway to one side of that. It's not my thing. I'm a little bit slow at typing, so
okay.
I'm happier if I dictate and somebody was to write down what I do rather than.
Okay. And is there an underpinning reason as to why you may struggle a little bit with?
It might refer back to years ago when I had a serious head injury and that, but I'm just not happy with working on computers. I cannot sit at a desk and do it. I'd rather be hands-on and get on with my job rather than typing. It's not my.
Okay, and so so should I caught that correctly then? So practical, there's no concerns or worries around doing anything practically?
No.
From the written side of things, whilst you can use computers and that, it's not your strength?
No, it's definitely not my strength, computers.
And if you're okay for me to say this as well, with the pre-existing head injury, does it make formulating longer responses or written?
Oh, definitely. I have to check twice when I'm doing things. It's not.
Okay. Does that give you any other issues with regards to concentration or energy levels or anything else?
No.
No. Okay. No problems at all. So with regards to the written side of things, if we look at putting a strategy in place there for you where you can talk and then someone else types it down for you, that probably reduces the stress out of the process. Yeah. Okay. What about regards to questions? If we were talking, you happy answering verbal questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel that's much stronger doing that, or would you prefer written questions?
I prefer verbal.
Yeah. Okay. For the reasons we've already covered off there.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem at all. Is there anything else within the assessment process that I need to be aware of if I was assessing you that may impact you or may be a strength or a benefit to you?
I've got a few restrictions on my ability to do certain things, a few little elements which you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
I've got a problem with my shoulder at the moment, where if I'm lifting over 90 degrees with the shoulder, that causes me pain.
Okay.
and limited movement still with my right hip even though I've had a hip replacement. There's certain positions that I cannot get in.
Okay. Okay. So we'll make sure we're aware of those and we incorporate that into any assessment process anyway. You are signed fit for work, aren't you? You're not taken off in this. So you've got a big letter from the doctor saying you're not allowed to do anything like that. No, don't try it.
I've seen Giles, he would tell you.
No, okay.
He said to be aware of it. So.
Okay, so I think I've got a good understanding in the background there of what we need to do for you. So probably if I go on to the assessment plan of the criteria we want to go against, what I'd like to assess you against, and this is in relation to how you perform in the work environment. And there's an award, it's a level 2 award in moving people, and it's got a number of units onto it. So Unit 1, which is to understand the reasons for safe manual handling, outline the potential injuries and ill health associated with incorrect manual handling. So that's the context or criteria for that unit. And effectively it's understanding why you're doing manual handling and the potential injuries and ill health that could come off the back of incorrect manual handling. If I put it in a summarised version there for you. Yeah. It has 2 outcomes there that I'd like to just probe a little bit with you as well. And I suppose probably so 2 areas I'd like to probe there. The first one is outline the potential injuries and ill health associated with incorrect manual handling. So that's going to be the first area I want to look at. The second part is outline consequences for non-compliance with health and safety requirements at work. So to break those into an easier format is what potential injuries you can get and the consequences if you don't comply with health and safety legislation. Within that the area as well, there's also Unit 3, which is understand the principles, types and equipment, testing requirements and associated with manual handling safety. So it's understanding what equipment and processes we have in place for lifting and moving things safely. Beneath that, you've got outline the types of equipment designed to be used for manual handling and outline the requirements for the testing, servicing and examination of manual handling lifting equipment. Okay, so what we've got and how do we test it? I would suggest to cover off those areas, a good way of doing it would have been around questioning. But if we go back to what we talked about earlier on there, you've talked about you prefer oral questioning as opposed to written questioning.
Yeah.
So if I dropped some questions there and when we sat down and just went and had a Q&A session effectively, where I sit down and ask you those questions, are you happy to answer those?
Yes.
Brilliant. Do you want me to, I appreciate they're quite wordy in what the requirement of the units are and the assessment criteria that are on there. Do you want me to make those into a bit more plainer English?
Yeah.
Or are you happy?
I'm happy.
Are you happy I read them out and then go through them and just summarise them the way we just did just then? I'll explain them to them. Yeah.
Whatever suits you, I'm happy either way.
That's great. It's about you though, Andy. I want to make sure that you've got what you need to do. So this has got to be based around what's good for you to achieve a positive outcome at the end. Okay. So if I would suggest that what we do on there is we do some oral questions on there. So we'll verbal question you and we'll sit down. If need be, we'll go down into your appliance bay. Would you prefer to have bits of kit in front of you so you can demonstrate it and discuss it and use them and then use them practically, or would you rather sit down in a classroom such as this and just ask the questions and answer them?
I'll answer the questions now. I'm fine.
Yeah. We'll arrange a time to come back. So what I want to do is I appreciate you've done the online manual handling course, but I'd like to give you a chance, which was done in July, I think it was, when you showed me the previous paperwork for it. What I want to do is just give you a chance to go and refresh and revise yourself on that. Yeah.
Practical, yeah.
Okay. The second area I want to underpin on your theoretical knowledge is around Unit 2 of the award, which is to understand how manual handling risk assessments contribute to improving health and safety. So it's about how we risk assess to improve our own health and safety. And what I want you to do is describe the principles of risk control hierarchy when applied to manual handling. So again, how the hierarchy of what we would do, how we would reduce those risks down to a point as reasonable and as safe as possible. And explain the terms hazard and risks in the context of manual handling. Now what I'd like to do on that is reflect back on that e-learning course that you've done and then go through there and have a revisit it if need be, have a reread of it and all that sort of stuff And then what we're doing in and around there is just that reflection on what you've done in those areas in regards to those two assessment criteria. Because what I'd like to do really is just a learner statement, because I think possibly it's easier if you just explain how you understand the principles of risk control and the hierarchy around there, and then what hazard and risk means to you based against what you've learned on that previous course. We'll do that as a learner statement. I'll take into account what you said previously about computers not being at the forefront and typing and the length of time it will take you to type a response, and I really don't want to expose you to any additional stress. So what I would suggest we do on there is, if you dictate, I'll arrange to either type it for you or I'll arrange for someone to type it for you, and at the end of it we'll ask you to sign that as a true reflection of your work.
Fine.
Okay? You happy with that?
Yeah, fine.
Right? Sure?
Yeah.
Right. So that's assessment criteria. And what we'll do is I'll provide you with a copy of the assessment criteria anyway, and I'll provide you a copy of the assessment plans as well, so that you can have a look at it as well. Okay. The next area you'll probably be more happier with, which is going to be when we're going to go on. So it's the same award, level 2 award in moving people safely, and we're going to move on to Unit 4, which is be able to apply safe manual handling principles. Excuse me. And under Unit 4 and 4.1 is demonstrate efficient and safe manual handling principles when applying effort to or moving a load or object manually alone. And then the second area is when undertaking a manual handling task as part of a team. So that's a nice practical element there for you, and what we'll do is we'll observe you doing those two bits there. So all the bits we've covered off in the previous units of 1.1, 1.3, 3.2 and 3.3, and then the 2.3, 2.4, which is about telling us how you do risk assessments and how you apply the techniques and all that sort of stuff. Now then do it practically, and then demonstrate to us how you do safe lifting as an individual. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then as part of a team. So what we'll probably ask is, I'll ask Simon to go out there with you, and you can do some joint lifting together as well. Happy with that?
Fine. Yeah.
Okay. And that is it. So you'll have demonstrated the theory and the knowledge and the underpinning of what you've got, and then you also demonstrate your practical sides of things. Does that work? Within that practical area, is there anything in there that's gonna, if you're lifting something as an individual, so have you been set any limits on weights you can lift or move?
No.
No. Okay. However, being mindful of your shoulder and your hip, what we will do is we won't use full-size drill dummies and all that sorts of stuff. What we'll do is we'll use something smaller and something more manageable, just so you can demonstrate the techniques correctly. And the same when we move on to part of the manual handling as a team. Again, we'll use something sensible one that both yourself and Simon can lift without injuring yourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest bit. Do you want to go and choose a specific item that you would like to lift as an individual or as a team?
I don't mind, whatever.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter to me.
I think probably rather than me turning up and going, here, Andy, lift that.
That's 70 kilo.
Yeah. Once we've done here, between now and when we go and do our the assessment, if you can identify a bit of kit that you would like to lift as an individual that falls within the criteria of being safe for you to do it, that it's not going to place you or injury, and then something for you and Simon to lift together, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Now, that is pretty much how we're going to assess it. We've done the assessment plan and that for the moment there. I'll put my pen down somewhere. There it is. The assessment plan is agreed. So are you comfortable and happy with the assessment criteria? There's two plans here. One which covers theory, one which covers practical.
Yeah, fine.
The elements that are within them, I'll give you a copy of the assessment criteria as well, so you can read them and understand them. And if there's any questions, then please come and ask me.
Right.
If you're happy, what I'll do is I'll assess the time and date the assessment plans as 13/34 of today's date. And then what I'll do in a moment is I'll ask you to sign that to say that you're happy on those plans there.
Right, yeah.
And these will be the ones that we work to. If there's anything changes or as we go through that's anything that's there, then by all means we'll update and adjust the plans, but I'll discuss that and talk that through with you as well. Okay?
Yep.
They're the plans. The most important part now, though, is when we're actually going to come and watch you lift some stuff around the drill yard. I would suggest it's Monday now.
I got the rest of the week to be here, so I don't injure myself.
How does Wednesday sound? Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is that going to give you plenty of time to sort out what you want to do, clear whatever work you need to be doing, and then we'll make some spare time on Wednesday?
That should be fine.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. So if we agree that the date and time of the assessment will be Wednesday, should we say for about 3:30, 4 o'clock, or would you have gone by then?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
3:30 be fine.
Yeah. So what's that? Wednesday? That would be the 12th, 13th, 14th.
As long as my supervisor hasn't got any other plans for me, which I haven't checked on.
Don't worry, I'll discuss that with him. Okay. So as it stands there, Andy, that is going to be your assessment plans. That's where it goes on to. Have you got any questions before I start the recording?
No, not that I can think of at the moment, no.
Okay, mate. In that case then, I'll stop recording and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.